Too far. There.
Ready to do that one?
Yeah, no, that's fine.
So I watched the election from home.
I watched it from my university flat at the University of Sussex in Brighton, England.
I was at the sort of the Boothby headquarters party the night it all sort of transpired.
Our Liberal family is hurting across the country tonight.
I think it was rather unexpected.
Yeah, I was sort of sitting like, right, okay, this is happening.
We didn't do well enough during this campaign, that much is obvious tonight.
What we had on election day was a message from the Australian people. And it's up to us now to listen and to learn, and I'm confident that the party will do that. So, hi, my name's Adrian. I joined the Young Liberal movement a couple of years back. I'm 19 now.
My name's Kai, I'm 19 years old and I've been a member of the Young Liberals for 3.5 years.
My name's Evie Kakis. I am 26 years old and I am the South Australian Young Liberal President and I'm the Federal Young Liberal President as well. So I hold two different hats essentially. For me, I think a big thing about being a Liberal and what I fundamentally believe in is that I believe in the right to self-determination. So if you work hard and you sacrifice a lot, you should be rewarded for that.
The Liberal Party believes about small government. We're a strong believer in ensuring that government is as little in your life as possible, making sure that we've got good fiscal responsibility from our government.
I joined the Liberals in particular because I believe that the economy is the cornerstone of what a government should prioritise. Because if you get the economy right, then it means that a government can responsibly invest in the quality infrastructure and services that governments should deliver and that people expect governments to deliver.
The Young Liberal movement is the youth wing of the Liberal Party. It's open to anyone between the ages of 16 and 31. I sat down with some of its members to get a better understanding of what drew them there in the first place, but also to find out what they think is driving young people away.
Is Peter Dutton avoiding young Australians?
No, not at all. And look, I'm surprised at the tone of this question.
The Coalition now has its smallest team in modern history, almost 50 fewer seats than when Tony Abbott was Prime Minister back in 2013. Since 2010, the amount of people voting Liberal has dropped every election. And in 2022, just 24% of millennials voted for the Coalition, the lowest level of support for either major party amongst young people in 35 years. It's got some people questioning whether there is a future in Australia for the Liberal Party.
I think there certainly is. I think that what our founding father, Sir Robert Menzies, originally founded as to be a classical Liberal, a classical Conservative, sometimes it can get lost along the way. And I think the Liberal Party is in that sort of state now where we're trying to figure out where we go from now and how we get there and what being a modern Liberal and a modern Conservative might mean as opposed to what Sir Robert Menzies found 70, 80 years ago.
The Liberal Party has a future and it's bright. It's really bright. I think it's just making sure that we've got the correct communication and ensuring that the Australian people understand what we have to deliver.
If the Coalition want to be in government again, they will have to win from the centre. They're at centre-right. They need to be progressive on social policy, on issues of climate change and abroad. But when it comes to the economy, that's where they need to state their difference with Labor.
For the first time in history, millennials and Gen Z outweighed the number of baby boomers that voted in the federal election. This graph shows that electorates that had a higher proportion of young Australians tended to vote Labor. So where did it go wrong for the Liberal Party?
I think perhaps policy was probably where we fell down a little bit.
It wasn't well explained and it was really rushed in a way. So despite them campaigning heavily on nuclear energy, there was still a level of uncertainty with that. But in terms of other policies, I think they made some errors that were really, really costly.
I think it starts with developing policy that's going to be quite clearly targeted towards young people.
The issue that we have in the Australian political system is that the Greens and Labor appeal more because of what they promise. You've got the Greens on one side that promise the world for the youth. Free university they campaign on and a lot of other things that seem like they're going to benefit young people. But the Greens can promise the world and deliver nothing because they're not in government.
And I think that there perhaps can sometimes be a bit of a disconnect between the interests and priorities of young people and perhaps the interests and priorities of the party more broadly.
we've seen from Labor and the Greens, we've seen a attitude that we need to flood social media with posts that target youth. I believe they call it the brain rot. Now, I don't know how effective that is, and it's not my place to comment because I don't have expertise to comment on that.
You know, there's also an element of cultural warfare. You know, that went on, picking what flag to stand behind, to stand in front of, and I think Australians are more interested in what a government is going to do for them.
The Liberal Party is a party of individualists. Yes, we are a one team, yes, we are a group of people, but I think there's a really important thing to be said for having your own individual thought process and for having your own personal views. And I don't think that's communicated enough personally to the electorate, because the views that I might share might be different to my Vice President, might be different to the party leader, might be different to the state leader. And that's all well and that's okay. But I think there is a little bit of a misconception that sort of Liberals are these big bad guys, or that they have some kind of very extreme view of the world. I think that's inherently incorrect.
Peter Dutton also became the first opposition leader to lose his seat at a federal election, which meant this week Susan Lee took over as the leader of the Liberal Party. Many people reckon that over the next 3 years, until the next federal election, she has a lot of work to do to increase the Liberal Party's popularity and really figure out what the party stands for.
She needs to run an opposition that is centre-right, from the centre. There's people on the Conservative side of politics that say the coalition needs to go further to the right. That's why they're losing the election. That's just ridiculous. You know, if the coalition needed to go further to the right, One Nation would be in government, but they're not. It's Labor in government.
I think the more important thing to do is to sort of go, okay, what does it mean to be a Conservative in 2025? What does it mean to hold these values? What does it mean to be sort of socially progressive but economically a bit more liberal? How does that frame now?
I think one thing we need to focus on is making sure we have a comprehensive plan, but one that really reflects Liberal values. We need to ensure that we aren't deviating from the path, that we are the party of small government and small spending.
I think the key to success really, and it's something that I'm really big on as a leader at the state and the national level, is identifying talent and really working with it.
Well, there has to be people inside that speak for young people on a federal level. I don't think that's really happening. As a young person looking at politics, I don't think you're going to see many people that within 10 years or 15 years of your age. And when you see that, well, why would you vote for something that has people that don't represent you?
There will always be a centre-right party, there will always be a Liberal Party, and I think that perhaps whilst it might not seem like it right now, there is scope in the future. I think it's perhaps just a bit of soul searching to get there.